here's Brody Brazil.
I feel like this video needs a disclaimer before anything else because I don't want to lead you on. I don't want to give you false hope that the Arizona Coyotes are a sure thing to come back. The process is started. It's getting underway. More on that in just a second, but I remind you, there's competition with other pro sports cities. It also takes the league being on the very same page as this group in Arizona. So it's an uphill battle. It's a grind. It's going to be years until we figure out the resolution of this, but I do want to let you know what's going on behind the scenes. There is a real effort in the Valley to bring hockey back to Phoenix and the state of Arizona. And Craig Morgan has been all over this story, friend of the channel, by the way. Covered the Coyotes, covered their departure, covered the Mammoth a little bit, and Craig continues on this beat. But before we get to the latest update, I remind you what he put out in January of this year. Newly elected Maricopa County Board of Supervisors Chair Tom Galvin announced the formation of a committee of political and business leaders to bring the NHL back to Arizona. Commissioner Gary Bettman of the NHL confirmed that he met with Galvin before Christmas via Zoom. So a big piece here, the political and business leaders of Arizona and of Maricopa County, like it takes all of that coming together in the right way to even have a chance at expansion or bringing the Arizona Coyotes back. So that was back in January. Since then, we haven't heard much. This group that was being put together has said all along that they're not going to give you any news unless there is actual news. And now this morning, I woke up to a piece by Craig Morgan on his Substack, by the way. Check it out, arizonainsider.substack.com. I'll link to that down below. Craig has the latest update. Andrea Doan has been named the chair of that committee, which was formed back in January. Now, I know instantly people will say, yeah, that's Shane Doan's wife and Josh's mom. Where's Shane in all of this? Like, Shane is kind of the figurehead, the celebrated piece of Arizona hockey. Well, Shane can't do this for a number of different reasons. First off, there's the conflict of interest. He currently works for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He can't have a different job trying to bring hockey back to Arizona. It just doesn't work on a conflict standpoint, but it also doesn't work on a logistics standpoint. He's got another job. This is a full-time effort. I congratulate Andrea on taking this on, having the time, having the inspiration, representing the Doan family, also utilizing all of her connections and leverage. As a hockey wife, as a hockey mom, she's in the middle of this just as much as anybody else. So Andrea Doan has been named the chair of this very important committee. Their son, Josh, you may recall, was a 2021 pick of the Coyotes in the second round of the draft, this after being the captain of the Sun Devils hockey team at Arizona State. Andrea's connections in business and hockey are certainly huge in all of this, and that's why she's going to be at the very top of this. She is the chair of this committee. And we'll get to a couple of her outstanding quotes. And I mean, I love this one the most. If you want to know where she's at, the mindset she's in, taking this over and moving this forward, this is not a passive situation. This is a let's play offense instead of play defense type situation. Here's what Andrea said about trying to bring the Arizona Coyotes back. Quote, I think we have an obligation to the city and an obligation, honestly, to the NHL to make this happen. We have been given all these opportunities because of hockey, and so you want to help by giving back and doing whatever you can. It's just not going to feel complete until the team is back here. And I don't care if I have to wait until I'm like 80 years old. We're going to work hard on this, and it's gonna be back. Pause for a second. Soak that in. That was heartfelt. That was determined. That was, no, it's not going to be an if thing. It's just going to be a when thing. When is this going to happen? Because we're going to work to make this happen. An obligation to the city. And her point on it's just not going to feel complete until the team is back. She went through the process of watching the Desert Dogs play their final game at Mullet Arena and then becoming the Utah Hockey Club and now the Utah Mammoth. And at least they changed the name. At least the existence and the idea of the Coyotes, like the existence doesn't live on, but the idea of the Coyotes gets to live on. It didn't go to Utah. The Coyotes' name, image, and likeness, they get to stay in Arizona. And here was Andrea's perspective on losing the hockey team and what it was like to witness that. Quote, it was so sad. The Coyotes are the whole reason why we were even in Arizona. It was a part of our family's livelihood, and it's still hard to actually think about the fact that they're not here. Let me pause again. I've been through it too. I totally understand it. To lose a pro sports team, you're accustomed to a team losing games and maybe having to trade away some of your favorite players or go through transition. Losing things are part of being a sports fan or following a team or being associated with the team. Losing the entire team, that's not what you sign up for. There's always been this underlying instability, which is one of those things we want to change the most right away. She's talking about the existence of an NHL team in Arizona by showing what's really going on in this hockey community. We want to change that the most right away by showing what's really going on in this hockey community. There's this tethered understanding of the culture of hockey in Arizona and how to grow that. Like, she's saying what they see, and I see it too, from afar, but also having been there in person. I get it. The expectation of Arizona hockey externally is not great because they've just never had the right situation. Ownerships, teams, location of the arena, it's never been on the platform like it's supposed to be. It's always felt a little bit makeshift. And what do you expect when it's makeshift? Quote, I think the view from the outside was skewed in the way that it was sometimes painted that, oh, there's not that many fans. I think that's the way it is now with social media. You can show one side of something and not the other, so you can make it more exaggerated than what the reality is. The story that has been told about Arizona hockey is not an accurate story, and we have seen it firsthand. End quote. So as much as it's all about winning a team, finding a way back into the NHL, which again is a difficult process, it's also about changing the narrative here. And I love her approach on this. I love her straightforward, ideas and not only getting a team back, but changing the story is part of the process. We get more updates here from Craig's piece, which again, I'm going to link to down below. I hope you check this out. Subscribe to Craig's Substack. Craig saying, quote, there are two critical pieces on which the committee is focused. This is the one that Andrea is now the chair of. Finding a suitable ownership group with deep pockets and crafting a plan to build an arena in a suitable location, either in downtown Phoenix or east of downtown. Definitely not in Glendale. That's not part of the consideration here. Both of these searches have also been in the works for several months already, and some ideas are already on the table. So that's the thing about this group. They don't come out and say it before they do it. They do it and then say it, which might be frustrating because you might go months and not hear anything. But even like all of this hasn't been public until it's already happened. But the third pillar of any new franchise's foundation must be a commitment to and a connection with the community. Great writing, Craig, by the way. That's so well put. Something none of the ownership groups that followed Richard Burke ever fully understood or embraced. Specifically, Alex Murillo's group, who was at the very tail end of the existence of the Arizona Coyotes and even had the deal on the table that we're going to buy the team from you. We're going to sell it to the Smith Entertainment Group in Utah. But you know what, Mr. Murillo, you and your family, you will get an NHL team back guaranteed. All you have to do is start building an NHL venue in Arizona. You do that, you get the Coyotes back. Simple as that. The $1 billion fee or whatever he sold it for was probably coming right back to him. And instead, he walked away. So again, is this on the fans? Probably not. This is a situation where the market can thrive under even normal circumstances. More on this group, by the way. There's no timeline for what they know is a years-long process, but it begins right away. They don't know if this is a 3-year thing, a 2-year thing, an 8-year thing, or until Andrea is 80 years old, like she said. But I love that determination and commitment. But they're officially saying, no, this starts right here, right now. The group's not going to make any announcements, like I've been saying, until something is actually happening. So you may not hear from them for quite some time, but just know that it's going on in the background. The group also understands the urgency of competition with places like Atlanta and Houston. And I just want to point this out when the NHL is going to start considering, do we expand? Where do we expand? We already know that Atlanta's very deep in the conversation. There's 2 different groups out there trying to pursue an expansion franchise for the 3rd time, by the way, in Atlanta. But Houston's also out there. That's a pretty large market. I'm just saying don't sleep on Phoenix. The NHL's been there before. I get going to Houston would be a new thing. Going back to Atlanta is not much different than going back to Phoenix. I just feel like Phoenix should be a front runner. Even though they're not 6-7, not a huge difference here. I just feel like there is something owed to the fans of the Valley in getting a hockey team back. And timing's also important from the aspect of the other existing teams. You realize that the former home of the Desert Dogs is surrounded by other NHL teams, like obviously the Mammoth now exist in Salt Lake City. And the Golden Knights are the closest team, I think, proximity-wise to Phoenix up in Las Vegas. You've got the Avs who are, I say a couple states away, but diagonally, a couple states away. And then in Southern California, you've got the Kings and Ducks. Literally look at the Coyotes fan base and what still currently exists with hockey fans. Is it going to be where these other teams come in with hockey clinics and youth clinics and fan initiatives? Do they all start to try and encroach on this market because there were fans there and it's wide open? How does Phoenix protect itself and stay ready so that if it can get its own team back, like these other teams don't, during the meantime, like they don't, how do I say this? They don't take over the youth. They don't try and make, they don't try and make a kid in Arizona into a Mitch Marner fan, because he's with Vegas now. How do you protect the Arizona hockey community and make sure that it's a Coyotes fan base first and foremost still? Here are my takeaways. Number one, Arizona hockey fans, they should be so proud to reach this point, that there's a group out there fighting for them, trying to find the ownership group, trying to find the arena situation, somebody behind the scenes that is working hard to make this happen. This is an accomplishment. Let me give you an example. Oakland, California loses their Major League Baseball team after 57 years, and maybe something will emerge. Maybe there will be some push, some focus, but not yet. And not anytime soon. And we know there are interested parties, but why haven't they stepped up like this? Why is there no committee? Why doesn't the government start it? Why doesn't a city or a county leader start that group and then bring in the heavy hitters and then bring in the business individuals? Why doesn't that happen? But it's happening here. So that just goes to show you this doesn't always happen, but it's happening, and that's great. Showing the correct narrative, I do agree. Telling your own story, that's very important. And I see it too, and I'm sure it'll be in the comments section. Oh, they don't deserve a team. They had a chance for 20 years. It was never great. Well, yeah, the situation was never great. You get out of it what you put into it. Simple as that. The Coyotes brand still being intact, like I said before, that is a great thing because you can rally around that still. It's not like they're the Utah Coyotes and you have to come up with your own identity that you don't even have anymore. You've got a name, a color, logos. You've got all that stuff. You've got history that can still be brought back to life if and when a Coyotes franchise is. And all of this is difficult. Like I started off this video by saying, the disclaimer was, I'm not promising you anything. I'm not assuring you of anything. I'm not even leading to say this is definitely going to happen. But it's not impossible. And they've got the right people lined up to do it. It's just a matter of can they do it, and will the NHL go along with it? So the comeback beginning in Arizona, yes, I think that's safe to say. I can't wait to follow this and see where it goes. And I remind you to follow Craig Morgan on social channels, but also as well his Substack. And maybe Craig can join us here again on the channel soon if there are even more developments. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. Put your comments down in the section below. Also, thumbs up while you're down there. Don't forget to subscribe. I would love to see you back here next time.